This is a new thing. Little weird. I've been building to this for probably about 16, 17 years.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Lloyd. Thank you for joining me for just a few minutes today. And I want to share with you today the problem. What's the problem? All right. In the last teaching, I shared the hope. Now, in most speaking instruction, they say start with the problem and then go to, oh, but we've got a solution for you. All right. And I understand that. That's a good progression. But I've done the opposite this time. The last teaching was on the hope that no matter where you are right now, you can still have your best life possible or very close to it. If you're not on your deathbed right now, you can still have that. And it's not dependent on trying harder. It's not your fault, okay? And you can still get there. And we believe we have the teaching and the tool to help you get there. And we're going to give you the tool for free at the end of this teaching. Just click on the link. It'll take you right there. 5 or 10 minutes to learn it, 5 minutes to do it, probably 5 minutes to teach it to someone else, which we would love for you to do, okay, without paying us a penny. All right? So, what is the problem? All right. This is something that someone challenged me with a couple of decades ago. And the first time I really thought about it deeply, it was shocking to me and a little jarring, okay? And what the person said to me was that if I had lived, that based on the research and statistics, if I had lived in Germany during the time of Hitler's reign as the dictator of Germany trying to take over the world and kill the Jews, that there's over a 90% chance I would have been a supporter of Hitler. Ever think about that in your own life? That's kind of head spinning, isn't it? Because if someone had said that to me without the context, just, oh, I bet you're a supporter of Hitler. I bet you think Hitler was a great leader or whatever. Oh my goodness, are you out of your mind? I think he was insane. I think he was a maniac. I think he was mentally ill. I think he was a lot of things, but a good leader, a good person, those are not part of what I believe about Hitler. But the person who challenged me was right. Based on the research and statistics, if I had lived in Germany during that time, over a 90% chance I would have been a member of the Nazi Party, as almost all Germans were during that time period. And you're thinking, yeah, but some of them were kind of forced to, right? They had to sign this allegiance thing, even if they didn't believe it was right, or they'd be jailed or killed. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that, but those people still signed their name, and they still did not raise a single objection or word against Hitler slaughtering millions of Jews and all the other terrible things he was doing. They did not stand up for what was right and true and good, even if they knew it. So even in the best case there would be complicit. They would have been complicit, or I would have been complicit with his actions if I did not stand up or say something to try and prevent it. Yes, there were a few people. There were multiple assassination attempts and things like that. There were a few people who did put their life on the line, and there have been some movies made about that, to try to stop Hitler. But well over 90% voluntarily, to some degree or another, became part of the Nazi Party. All right. Well, let's go another place. The research and statistics say almost exactly that same thing. If I'd been born in a Muslim country to Muslim parents with a Muslim culture, over 90% again, only this one is closer to 100, probably 96, 98, I would be a Muslim. Not trying to offend any Muslims today. It's just that's not what I believe is truth. Okay? If I'd been born a Hindu, if I'd been born an atheist, if I'd been born you name it, the research and stats are basically the same. Whatever culture I'm raised in and whatever my parents believed and teachers and others around me and poured into me, especially if they were kind to me, which makes me believe it more, I would have, over 90%, had that belief as an adult. Now, the first thing I would encourage you to think is, okay, so what beliefs do I have today only because my parents, teachers, and culture had those beliefs, but they may not be true. Just like what Hitler was doing was not a good thing. He framed it as a good thing, right? It was one of the most horrible things ever done. So what have I been taught? What have I gotten from my culture that detracts from my life, is not in truth, is in fear and falsehood, not love? Okay? What are those things? And what I'd like to share with you today is you've got to change those things. No matter, I don't care if you're 80 years old, you've got to go on a search for the truth. Not just the truth you already believe, or your parents believed, or teachers believed, or your country believed, or whoever. You've got to go on a search. What is the real truth? And let me adopt that, commit to it, act on it, and live that way. And part of that is, what beliefs do I have today that are not in truth and reality, which means believing those lies, as opposed to last week, the truth will make you free. Believing those lies is going to put me in more and more bondage and tie me up, more stress, more anxiety, more everything else. Okay? So, something to just think about, chew on for a week or two. What beliefs do I have that may not be in truth and love? Well, this might help you consider some things. And this is all based on double-blind study research done by universities, published in peer-reviewed journals. The references are all in my books. 40% of the population has suffered abuse. Physical, mental, emotional abuse. 40%. Okay, 4 people in 10. Think about that the next time you're in church or in a shopping mall or where there's a lot of people. 4 out of every 10 people here have been abused. I wonder what they're feeling inside that may not match what's on their face. And the same about yourself. 50% of what you believe about your own life is in error based on the latest research. 50%. So how can you just say, well, what I'm believing and living is the right one? There's 1,000 wrong ones, but I'm living the right one just because I am. Because I think my parents were right, my teachers were right, my country. That's the same thing they thought in Germany. Okay? Under Hitler. They thought, man, this is making our country better. They were starving, now they've got food. They were poor, now they're rich. They were at the mercy of other countries, now they're dominating other countries. All right? So 50% of what you believe about your own life is not true. And the great majority of those are not the actual facts of the situation, although there can be that too. They're the interpretation. Because this happened, therefore, this in my life, and that interpretation is wrong about one time in two, and typically about things that are painful or traumatic. 60% of people today are burdened like a weight on their shoulders with anxiety and stress that's absolutely skyrocketed after COVID. There's an 80% bias toward the negative. This is probably the most shocking of all of this is, and this study was very recent, like in the last 3 years. The average person leans 80% to the negative. You've heard, glass full, glass half full, glass half empty kind of thing. Well, the average is 80% to the negative. Where are you? What kind of difference would it make in your life if you went from 80% negative to 80% positive? I believe you can do that in 30 days or less with the intervention that I'm giving you. All right, last two. You probably heard of this one. This is old news. The average child needs a 10-to-1 positive to negative ratio in order to have emotional well-being as an adult. But the research, and it has for like 80 years now, says the average child gets a 10-to-1 negative ratio. So we shouldn't be so shocked, right? That our kids are growing up and they're stressed, they have all this anxiety, they don't have emotional well-being, they're emotionally on edge, or they're depressed, or have anxiety or anger or whatever, and are looking for solutions that aren't real solutions. They're just temporary, a temporary relief, but maybe addicting or something in the long run, okay? And then if you're wondering, well, that's children. What about adults? The research says that we as adults need about a 5-to-1 positive ratio, but you guessed it, we get about a 5-to-1 negative ratio, the average person, all right? So when you add up all of these, and okay, maybe you weren't abused, all right? Maybe you don't have anxiety and stress. Maybe you're only 10% to the negative, all right? Maybe you had a 5-to-1 negative ratio. Well, that's still plenty. You don't have to have all of them, although a lot of people do. If you have 1 or 2 or 3 of them, it can still take you to a negative life. Instead of love, joy, peace, selfishness, fear, seek pleasure, avoid pain as your God on which you make decisions, okay? Anxiety, stress, sadness, depression, anger, instead of love, joy, peace, okay? So what I would love to help you do is go from 80% negative to 80% positive. I believe you can do it in 30 days or less. I'm giving you the intervention to start doing that today within 30 minutes. I dare you to try it and see what happens, because I think you'll be amazed. Thank you so very much, and have a wonderful, blessed day.